Says we're live. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 2 3. Microphone check 1 2. What's up, growing? Good to see you. Or case, Eli, what up? I welcome you guys back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting from Arizona. Going to dive into Abby and Libby's case. And take a look at this comment I put here. 2 Corinthians 11:14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. What does that mean to you guys? That's going to be the basis and the metaphor for today's live stream. But when I read that, what does it mean for you guys? I'll tell you what it means to me, but I'm curious as to what it means for you guys. Right? We know how bad the devil is. We know that he's at war with us. We know that he was kicked out of heaven. So I think that's one thing that we're going to do. We might start with that. You know, who is Lucifer? Why did he fall from heaven? And why is he at war with us? You know, why does he want to manipulate us? Where do we learn of manipulation to begin with, right? The origin is with Lucifer. So one, why is he at war with God? And why does he hate us so much? Why does he want to drag us down? And how could that possibly be a metaphor for Abby and Libby's case and Richard Allen? And predators in general, and those who might be hiding all of these secrets in Delphi, right? We trust them. And how are we manipulated? Well, evil presents themselves as good, right? They masquerade. And that's why I have that imagery in the thumbnail. That's what they do. And some people, they're just programmed to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? Wolf in sheep's clothing. If they see a sheep and you're being kind and you're warm and you're cuddly, you're not a predator, you're not going to rip a piece of flesh off my leg, or, you know, I have nothing to be worried about. Like, I'm happy to see you. Come on in, Mr. Sheep. And then you ask the sheep, well, wait a minute, are you really a sheep? And the wolf's going to say, well, how dare you? How dare you question me? Right? They'll gaslight. They'll gaslight the other sheep. How dare you? What do you think I am? A wolf in sheep's clothing? Am I a wolf? What are you accusing me of here? Is it because I have skinny legs and these long fangs? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, right? The good person says, well, I'm sorry for accusing you. You're right. That was rude of me. Yes, now get out of my way and let me come in here and sit with all of the young and vulnerable amongst you. Eli says, Revelation 20:10, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. What's up, She-Warrior? All right, so what does that mean? Even the devil or Lucifer can present himself as an angel of light. So if the origin of wickedness, evil incarnate, can come to you and almost present themselves like Jesus almost, right? This glowing, beautiful appearance. But his sole purpose is to deceive you, to turn you away from God, to turn you away from that divine vibration. You know what I mean? Some of you that seek rebellion, Well, that's your father. He's the father of rebellion. We are forever connected to Lucifer, Satan, the devil, whatever you want. We are in some kind of cosmic balancing act with Satan. Everything that we deal with, this yin and yang, this as above, so below, this weird balance, this free will, it's almost creating itself as it happens. And we're being allowed by our creator to play it out, right? Play it out how you see fit. Lucifer says, well, if these are the rules to this game, I know exactly what I'll do. I will just go down there and manipulate mankind because they're fucking idiots anyway. And I'll make them do all kinds of evil. I'll even make them choose it. I'll deceive them so much that they'll believe that it was their idea. I'll program them from birth. I'll show them war. I'll show them science, all the things to destroy themselves. So what does that have to do with today's live stream? Everything that we know about the devil. What does that mean? People possessed Richard Allen's soul. Yep, I had a great Thanksgiving. Yep, and I did not overeat. Good to see all you guys. She Warrior, Eli. Who else we got? Got Growing. Sherry Faye, welcome in. Sleuth, you could have come and shoveled my drive and sidewalk from the 8-inch snow we got. It would make you appreciate where you live. You're right. That shit's for the birds. And I would have done that for you too. I don't mind a little bit of physical labor. My back does. But then again, usually I don't mind because it's in the sun. If there's that much snow, I don't think there's going to be that much sun out there. That means Richard Allen portrayed himself as a father, simple man, but was taken over by the devil and was too weak to fight him off. I don't know if anybody could be taken over by the devil, right? They talk about possession and things like that. I think it's possible. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it, or if we can even use the word science when it comes to paranormal, right? You got to throw that word in front of it. I don't know how that all works. But I do know from childhood, you know, we seem to be these peaceful creatures, you know, we come out of our mother's wombs. And it's like a clean slate. But then you have these predators that step in for whatever reason and try to take your innocence away. And usually they'll present themselves, you know, as a nice person. Like, oh, you seemed overwhelmed. You know, the nice neighbor or the nice soccer coach, or, you know, even a relative. You guys need to go out. You know, I'll take care of the kids. You know, I'm good with the kids. Go out and have a good time. That's when the grooming begins, right? They're presenting themselves as an angel of light. So where do you think they learn that behavior? They learn it from their father, not our father, their father. So that's the metaphor. So we're going to look at Lucifer and his fall. Who is he and why did he fall? Lucifer, the master manipulator, the creator of manipulation. I'll show you some examples of some high-profile, well-known cases involving killers hiding in plain sight. Also, we're going to look at Richard Allen as the outlier, right? If we cut out all of the conspiracy stuff and just stick to the facts, and we know that Richard Allen's guilty. We know that he's involved. Whether he's 100% of the truth or he's just 10%, he's involved, right? Lack of alibi, physical evidence with the bullet, the timeline. and his strange behavior after. So we know he's there. He has no explanation for the bullet being there, so that ties him right there. And then his confessions. Forget anything that was under psychosis or his back and forth, his malingering, his feigning symptoms. Forget all of that. I'm talking specifically the one to Dr. Walla, followed by 2 phone calls proving that he was fine. Let's just focus on those alone. He's obviously involved. To what extent, I don't know. And if others were involved, the people that are being trusted in Delphi are definitely hiding that fact. So they themselves are hiding in plain sight. And the only way that we fall for something like that is because we're being tricked, we're being duped by somebody similar to Satan, right? In the public's eye, they seem to be great people. They're family men, family women, husbands and wives, you know, great neighbors. They help their communities, right? But yet behind the scenes, for whatever reason, they're hiding a killer's name. They're hiding a group of killers. They're manipulating the court system. They're making deals behind the scene that have nothing to do with the Constitution, with our rights, with humanity. It's almost like a pact with the devil. This small town community where they can get away with anything. They have their own ecosystem, right? The ability to even kick the FBI out. Like, whoosh, be gone. You're getting too close. So what if the lawyer's brother destroyed valuable evidence that leads to your client? You know, nobody will ever know about that. We have total control. We are the levers and the gears. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Example cases, Richard Allen, the outlier, right? Is he? How is that possible? We know he's involved. How could it be a normal family man one day becomes an opportunistic killer? It does happen. Is it a statistical anomaly? Hell yeah. It would make him, right, an outlier. Doesn't make him innocent. It just, you know, you can be a statistical anomaly and still be a double killer. Those two things can coexist. Eli, most killers, aka Ed Gein, believed he was in a trance while committing his atrocious behavior. Well, some people, that's different. You know, that's almost like an insanity case. Psychotic. What's up, Grizz? Good to see you. Jet Set JP. I didn't vote in the poll because I honestly don't know. I'm here to be educated about this case. Welcome in. All right. Talking about the poll, and good to see you, Jet. Question is Richard Allen, is he an outlier? Yes, but he's still 100% guilty. And that is the most likely answer because they've proven that he's guilty. You can argue it, you can stack all these different, I guess, theories up to the ceiling, right? It does not matter. He has no alibi. He was there. His bullet is at the crime scene. He's confessed. And he acted strange after the fact. And he looks like the guy. And he has history there, right? Nobody else fits that bill. Most of the Odinism alternative people can't even be placed there. The only one that really comes close would be Ron Logan and Dave McCain. That's it. Nobody else is a viable suspect if they can't be placed at the scene, right? How are you going to charge somebody with murder if you can't put them at the scene? How are you comfortable accusing somebody that you can't put at the crime scene? How do you sleep at night? Probable cause isn't there, but the accusation is. You shouldn't have one without the other. Like, I can't prove why they're guilty. I just know it. Well, why do you know it? Well, I can't show it to you. You have to have faith. Faith, the faith, the faith. Guyver, what's up? He was an alcoholic with mental issues and a sex addiction. In his 40s and never advanced post being a shift manager, probably because his mind was never 100% on his work. Dude needs to do his time. Where we're also going to explore the possibility, Guyver, that he was just a normal guy. Like, what's the recipe for a normal guy who has depression and anxiety? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that, and that doesn't make them violent at all, right? So, what is the recipe that could cause a normal family man? There's people out there that support Richard Allen. They literally think that he's innocent because that's how he looks, right? If he's been planning a murder or worked with others to commit this murder, he's no different than Lucifer, presenting himself as a family man, presenting himself like the Green River Killer, right? Every time he had his victim, he would open his wallet. Here, look, there's my family. Here, I'll show you my license. Right next to his license is a picture of him with his family. He doesn't love his family. They're essential. Um, they're camouflage, right? That's how we all evolve. Predators evolve. If there's a gap, we're going to go through it. The gap will close, we'll go around it. If we can't go around it, we go under it. If we can't do that, we'll go over it. If we can't do that, we'll go through it. It's this game of give and take constantly. So that goes for child predators too. They evolve with technology. So we're going to touch on that too. We're going to look at probably towards the end of the stream grooming and vault apps. Do you guys know what a vault app is? So remember, parents, you need to be looking at your children's phones. You need to be looking at their contacts, who they're communicating with, what apps you need to have as much control as possibly can. And even then, you're not safe. But for those of you who are paying attention to what your kids do, I wanted to talk about vault apps and how they can hide certain things and how predators who are presenting themselves as an angel of light, a friend, somebody who wants to help, who is good with kids, is just doing it to possibly target your children or your family. And where do they learn this behavior? From the devil himself. Paul. Let's see. He admitted to being on the bridge, dressed exactly like the bridge guy at the same time as the bridge guy, and said he didn't see anybody else dressed like that when he was there. Yeah, how do you explain that? I mean, that's all good and fine if you have an alibi. If you say, look, guys, I know it looks weird, but I'm telling you, like, this is what I did. This is exactly what I did. Mom, tell him. Like, Mom, tell him I came over there. I saw you. Everything was okay. But mom says, nope, I'm not going up there. I'm not going to tell him everything was okay because that makes me a liar. You know what I mean? Sherry Faye, did Kathy move to where he was transferred? I will never forget her expression when he said, "You never told me you were on the bridge." Yeah, and that's real. That's something that actually happened. Does it make him guilty? No. But why would he lie about that? What's up, Jari? Thanks, Paul. Thank you so much. Let's hit you with the baby. Oh, yeah. New bags coming through. Thanks, Paul. Very generous. I don't know, Sherry. I don't know. I don't know. Robin, what's going on? I wish my grandkids never had access to a phone or the internet. Yeah, I mean, they have access to things that, we couldn't even dream of when we were young boys. You all know what I'm talking about. Playboy. You know what I'm talking about? Know what I'm saying? Hey, bad actors, what is up? Good to see you. Happy Sunday. Yeah, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. Yeah, we need it, man. This channel is ooh. Okay. So, yeah, that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. Lucifer and the fall. Lucifer, the original master manipulator. Some example cases, right? Ted Bundy, BTK, Israel Keys. Um, yeah, maybe that'll be it. Maybe another one. Maybe I'll find another one for you. Maybe Richard Hansen. That's a good one. Then we'll look at Richard Allen as the outlier, just your normal guy suffering anxiety, depression, nothing that will cause you to, you know, become some type of violent killer. So we're going to look at that as him just being a normal guy. I mean, think about it. True crime. It's like getting struck by lightning or bitten by a shark. If you could see it coming, you just wouldn't. It wouldn't happen, right? It's like, oh, here's lightning. I'm gonna dodge it real quick. No, it doesn't happen. It's random. It's like winning the lottery. It's like a bizarre event. So that's what's so scary about true crime is that you don't see it coming. You're living your life. You're not paying attention to all the red flags, right? Family annihilators, children that kill their parents, spouses that kill their families. Chris Watts, shit like that. I mean, how does that happen? How does one become an opportunistic killer? And if you sit there and say, "Oh, well, how can this not happen to me?" Well, what if that's what Richard Allen thought? Like, I'm not fantasizing about murder. I'm not a sadistic killer. I don't have weird fetishes. I'm just a little bit cuckoo. And for whatever reason, whatever he was dealing with at that moment in time, it just compiled. And it was the perfect recipe for murder for him, right? For him to become the outlier, this seemingly normal man who, for whatever reason, became a killer and did what he did to Abby and Libby. So we're going to explore that. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying let's explore it and let's see if that's what we're dealing with here. Guyver Sleuth, what is your take on his daughter Brittany's testimony? Do you think she's covering for him to try and protect her mother? That I don't know. That I don't know. And it sucks that we're even speculating about what's happening with Brittany because my heart goes out to her. You can almost feel her pain from here. A future that she imagined is just not going to ever exist. Right? That feeling of watching grandkids in the arms of their grandparents is a wonderful thing. That's all been stolen. But my gut tells me his stories about crossing the bridge with his daughter, feeling comfortable going down there and forcing those girls to undress. All of that terrifies me for her. Some of the stuff that Richard Allen confessed to could have been all gibberish, right? People in psychosis who are guilty still confess. They get a lot of it wrong. And then later, when they're lucid, they give an actual confession. You also have killers who feign and malinger and overcompensate, to try to adjust or use as a countermeasure. So you just cannot believe people who are not credible, right? They're bouncing back and forth, things like that. But he said he was molested and things like that, childhood trauma. I've seen cases where young kids were sexually assaulted, and then, like at school or something, they might commit a sexual assault on a classmate. And then they ask them, well, what happened to you? And then they find out, hey, uncle or neighbor or somebody was, assaulting or targeting these children. So he talked about molesting his, what was it, his sister, I believe. Yeah, I think it was his sister who was younger than him. So she's 4 years old and he's around 10 years old, I think, 10 or 11. And she says, no, nothing like that ever happened. Well, if you're 3 years old and you're assaulted by your 10-year-old brother, you're not going to remember that. Possibly, right? There's a chance that you might forget that for good reason. So if he's doing something like that and he's, I don't know. I do worry that there was something like that going on, and it sucks that we'll never understand that. You can almost sense it there, right? You can sense all this childhood trauma there for Rick, and he wants to cry out about it, but that's what's internalized him. And I think it's a big recipe. If he is an opportunistic type killer and he's not part of a bigger cabal or conspiracy involving other people, the Kleins and things like that, then I think that could be a big part of why he did what he did, or it might have played a part into what created a man capable of doing that. What's up, Lilith? Rick bought himself a one-way ticket to hell. Oh, how I hope he has to wear the bridge guy fit for his eternity in hell. Yeah, he's definitely involved. So it doesn't matter which road you take or which avenue you pick. I mean, he's involved 100%. Just like Colonel Russell Williams in Canada, nobody would have guessed he did the things that he did. Yeah, exactly. Here, let's catch up on the chat, and then we're going to get started. And we'll just kind of just chat throughout all of this. This is all just to kind of start a discussion and kind of act as a metaphor for what I'm referring to. Harvey, what up? Sleuth, there's no doubt in my mind that these beautiful girls were being filmed, resulting in a produced product. There's evidence of that. There's evidence, Rick, on some kind of a device that was never really identified. His phone didn't ping anywhere near the crime scene. It only pinged at his home later on, around the time that he would have been kind of home sleeping, right? You'd be exhausted. Be like some kind of an endorphin or like an adrenaline dump. And the whole Las Vegas trip. So if Kagan Klein's involved and TK is involved, this plan, I believe, through my investigation, was launched around July of 2016. So you have other characters and you have Keegan Klein grooming and catfishing and, the whole sextortion thing happening early 2015. So by early 2015 to July, basically mid 2016, he would have already been experienced at sextortion and lying to young people. So he had other names already created. He was already making his mistakes and creating them and seeing, adapting like a predator. Okay, what do I need to do? These techniques aren't working. I can't do that. Let me try this, right? I need them to, this is what I want them to do. How can I do that? Well, I need to gain their trust. Well, how do I gain their trust? Evil has to present himself or themselves as good. So they have to begin masquerading, just like Lucifer, right? When presented himself as an angel of light. So that's what we're talking about today, is all of that. Yeah, if you guys haven't participated in the poll, the question is Richard Allen. Is he an outlier? Yes, but 100% guilty, or just 10% of the puzzle? That's what I believe. I believe he's 10% of the puzzle. The people who are hiding in plain sight and who are presenting themselves as angels of light are somewhere there in the community, embedded in the politics, embedded in the law enforcement, all the way up to the state level. And I think it's possible they are the ones who are hiding in plain sight. I mean, think about it. I told you guys from the beginning when all these conspiracy theorists came out and they said, "Oh, Richard Allen's innocent. It's a conspiracy," blah, or things like that. And they're attacking Rosie, and we need to protect Richard Allen's defense team at all costs. They're trying to get him thrown off the case. And what did I tell you guys? I said any good conspiracy, they're all in on it to some degree. They're all in on it, and they're just all there to sheepdog a narrative into its hole, like a golf ball. We're just gonna kind of cheat it all the way, and then once it's in the hole, we're gonna cover the hole and cement over it. It's like it never happened. I told you guys that. I said every good conspiracy, they're all in on it. So Brad and Andy were selected by Goal. If Goal's in on it, well, she selected them. They're in on it. We know the prosecution would absolutely be on it. The investigative team would definitely be in on it. Richard Allen would be in on it, but if in a position where he can't talk, he knows that he's the fall guy for whatever reason. And then you got the defense team who would be in on it, right? Wasn't it Rosie's brother who, according to the FBI, destroyed the Marathon gas security footage? Imagine what that evidence would have done to this case. Imagine if you have Richard Allen and Kagan Klein meeting at the Marathon gas station. There they are. There's also, two other men with them. What would that have done to the case? What would that have done to the Delphi murders case? Okay. So I think he's 10% of the puzzle, or being protected, right? Being protected, but by who? So those two could actually go together. Being set up systematically. And he's innocent. All the effort and planning involved. Could they not film this event? Absolutely. Absolutely. What's up, Dawn? Listening today while working around the house. Good. It's always good to see you. Merry Christmas. Let's see. Hey, Fishy. Richard Allen wasn't even his client then. What do you mean? Not sure. What do you mean by that? Wasn't his client then? Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Rosie being apparently responsible for the Marathon gas station footage, that he wasn't his attorney then? No, but he was his attorney now. You don't think it's interesting that Gull picks the brother of a guy that may have destroyed evidence, right? If she's in on the conspiracy and Rosie's in on the conspiracy, he's the trusted guy, right? These are the the initiated, so to speak. I need to pick all people who are initiated behind the scenes to make sure we get what we need, right? I have dirt on you. You have dirt on me. We need this to happen. We need to put a lid on this Delphi case so nobody finds out the truth. They don't find out why it was done. We need to protect the people who were motivated to make it happen. And we need to use every possible level of this corrupt local establishment. Yeah, I don't see why that would make a difference. Right? If you have a group of people who are connected, all mutually motivated, and they're all part of the same octopus, right? These with the tentacles, this beast, this kraken. The brother's part of the kraken, destroys the marathon footage. The second brother is hired as the defense attorney to ensure that they don't talk about Kagan Klein, that they don't talk about any of these other players, right? They just minimize what happens to Richard Allen, right? We'll throw him the Odinism bone. You know, they want some kind of ritualistic killing, we'll give them one, but not the real one. Potentially. Thank you, Jari. Yeah, hit the Cash App or hit the like button if you can't. The Silver Leaf. Richard Allen took the question. If you could do anything without being caught, what would it be? What do you mean by that, Silverleaf? When did he take that question? All right. We're all caught up on the chat. Let's get going. Let's see. Where did I want to start here? Oh, yeah. Lucifer in the fall. All right. Let's minimize all this. Okay. Who was Lucifer? The name Lucifer literally means light bringer or morning star in Latin. In Christian tradition, Lucifer is often identified as a high ranking angel, sometimes considered a cherub or archangel. He is depicted as being exceedingly beautiful, intelligent, and powerful. The fall of Lucifer is generally explained as pride and rebellion against God. Right? What is Satanism? It's just rebellion against God. Sometimes it's often a misconstrued or a misconception that was given, right, by an angel of light. Somehow individuals were convinced that certain parts of religion are an actual representation of God. And somehow they're able to take your grace, right? We have this grace, the grace of God, which is kind of like a connection to God. And when you lose that, you basically fall away from God. And that's what I believe Lucifer wants from us. He wants us to fall away. So he's usually explained as pride and rebellion against God. Let's see. Let's read Isaiah 14:12 through 15. Often associated with Lucifer through the context is about the king of Babylon. Little side note. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down. This is Ezekiel 28. Is also interpreted allegorically as describing Lucifer. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created. Your heart became proud because of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. Lucifer desired to exalt himself above God, seeking independence and power over creation. What's up, true crime fangirl? All right. So, what was the consequence of that? Lucifer was cast out of heaven. He became Satan, the adversary, the tempter, the personification of rebellion against God. So, people try to wonder, well, what's the difference between Lucifer and Satan? Well, Lucifer became Satan, which is the adversary, right? And we're cosmically connected to Lucifer pretty much in everything that we do. It's part of our balance. How are we going to respond to this great manipulation that's presented? Are we going to use our discernment? Are we going to do what Lucifer did and attempt to exalt himself? Right? I'm God. I created myself. Right? Somehow gas your light into some kind of hopeless oblivion. He is said to deceive, tempt, and manipulate humans, presenting himself as good or an angel of light to achieve his goals, right? 2 Corinthians 11:14 or 2 Corinthians. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Some theologians interpret the story less literally. Lucifer's fall is a warning about pride and self-exaltation, represents the corruption of beauty, wisdom, and power, when the gifts are turned inward instead of being used to serve the divine order. And that's what I was trying to reference earlier, was the divine order. The idea of appearing as an angel of light symbolizes deceptive charm, evil that hides behind goodness. Okay, so that was Lucifer and the fall. Let's see what you guys are talking about over here. It's a play on the question teachers give to a student. If you could do anything and you knew you could not fail, what would you do? Richard Allen picked X. Well, also, I think when you become desperate and you feel like you have nothing to lose, because it almost seemed like Richard Allen wanted to take his own life, but he couldn't. And this is very common with most killers, right? Or at least the psychopathic ones, right? When it comes to the psychopathy of a sadistic person. What's up, Vix? All right, what else we got here? Okay. All right, the father of manipulation. That's just kind of like the backstory for those of you who weren't familiar. Okay, so Corinthians 11:14, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. This verse means that evil can disguise itself as something good, pure, wise, or even trustworthy, right? You guys, we can't fathom how these people can go out there and support convicted killers. Like, how can you? Well, that's because they're underestimating the cunningness of a sadistic killer, and we're underestimating, something about them and how they can be tricked by this. That just really means that they're there's a predisposition of trusting the 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 better good or the greater good in the world. So you can trick those people, right? If your intentions are evil and they're like, wait a minute, are you sure you're a good guy? Oh, yes, I am the best guy. I have a family. You know what I mean? I have a wife. Um, I work here at the local drugstore. Yes, you can let me in. All right, come on in then. I just had to check. And then as soon as they're in, boom, right? The frog and the scorpion. Okay, so Satan's primary tactic is deception. So the groomers in our society, the compartmentalized killers, like where do they learn these tactics, right? Where do they learn this wickedness? Satan's primary tactic is deception. He misrepresents himself. Here, let's put this up on the screen here. Boop. He imitates God's messengers, right? I'm here as an angel of light. Follow me, and I'll take you to the promised land. while leading you to a life of despair and regret and wickedness. It's very subtle, just like the groomer. Right? They're just nice at first, and then the manipulation. It's like a slow and methodical. It's just something very wicked about it. And where do they learn this at? Where does this come from? The Bible emphasizes that wolves come in sheep's clothing. We touched on that. That was Matthew 7:15. False prophets, they look righteous. That's also 2 Corinthians 11:15. Temptation often appears desirable, right? The pride before the fall. So Lucifer's fall was linked to pride and self-exaltation. He once had brightness and beauty. He exalted himself. His fall transformed his nature and purpose. The overall message: be careful. Evil often comes dressed as good. Deception often looks like wisdom. Darkness often imitates light to gain trust. And that's how people are overly manipulated, are easily manipulated. So it's a call to discernment, right? That's why we have God-given discernment. You lose your connection with God, you lose your discernment, and these sadistic killers will walk all over you because you don't have that instinct, right? You can't smell the devil. You can't smell the sulfur. All right, let's look at some example cases here that I lined up. At least I hope I did. I should have. Okay, cases where killers appeared harmless, but were anything but. Let's start with Ted Bundy. So Ted Bundy, polite, intelligent, helpful, a law student, political volunteer, often faked injuries, arm in a sling to appear vulnerable. Victims described him as trustworthy and harmless before learning who he truly was. Right, here comes this guy, this good-looking guy. He hurt his arm, the poor guy, right? There's the nice person. Maybe wants to help. Aw, this handsome guy, young. I wonder what happened to him. Oh, he can't lift that up. He needs help lifting this. Right? I'm a good person. That's what I'm gonna go help this poor guy who seems harmless. Him being attractive, doesn't hurt. Kind of like predators, right? Sometimes they present themselves as something that they're not. What are those anglerfish with the little fishing pole for a tongue? Learn it through trial and error. All right, let's see here. Let's take a closer look at him. I have Ted Bundy's folder right here. Who was Ted Bundy? Oh, I think I showed you guys this already. Hopefully I did. Let's see. The shocking truth, the silence of lambs. Ted Bundy was one of the most notorious serial killers in history. When author Thomas Harris used him as his inspiration for the murderous Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs, with stars Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins on board. The film became a grisly box office hit and surprise Oscar winner for the Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Actress. I think they have it wrong. I think he was the inspiration for Hannibal Lecter, was Ted Bundy. And the Green River Killer Gary Ridgway was supposed to represent Buffalo Bill. Because if you guys remember, Ted Bundy, he's the attorney, he's this smart guy who's escaped multiple times and continued to commit brutal murders, right? He's obviously an intelligent person in order to do that. Very similar to the guy, just like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, right? Continues to escape and evade capture. He's very smart. He's kind of injected himself into the legal system. And I believe that Ted Bundy came forward and tried to help FBI with capturing the Green River Killer. I think he offered up his help. So that would be something very similar to Jodie Foster's character meeting with Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, right? That's like the FBI meeting with Hannibal Lecter, who is Ted Bundy, trying to offer up a profile of Gary Ridgway, who literally said publicly that he was trying to beat Ted Bundy's record. I mean, how sick is that? All right. Who else we got here? John Wayne Gacy, the friendly clown. He performed as Pogo the Clown at hospitals and charity events. Like, oh man, I don't know what it is about John Wayne Gacy. I think what scares me about John Wayne Gacy is that I'm with him. I finally get to feel the fear that a lot of you women fear. You know what I mean? Like, usually you guys are the victims of serial killers. But when it comes to John Wayne Gacy, I feel like, man, like, how many times have you trusted a friend or somebody that you met? You go do a business deal, or you go to meet up to see a vehicle, or, an item of interest, or they're at your home to pick something up, somebody that you just met, and how many times have you been alone with them where you could have just turned around and then boom, they just smack you on the back of the head. So I think when it comes to John Wayne Gacy, I think I get a little dose of what you women kind of felt like, right? It kind of brings me back to my teenage years where I was young and naive and didn't know anything about the dangers of life. I mean, I could easily have been a victim of John Wayne Gacy. So something about that case, it just gives me the chills in a different way. What's up, Brittany? Ah, shit, grunge is in the building. Listen to the BTK audiobook and he was bad. Yeah, let's move to him. Dennis Rader, because he's a good example. He kind of has that duality thing. Well, I think we'll do Dennis Rader and then also Israel Keys, because he had that duality. And he had a daughter. And maybe we can gain some insight into what was going on with Richard Allen. All right, Dennis Rader. Excuse me, guys. The church leader served as president on his church council. Man, that's a good example of presenting yourself as an angel of light, right? Served as president of his church council, worked as a compliance officer, portrayed himself as a strict, moral, community-minded man. He used this role to disarm suspicions for decades. Crazy. I mean, if that doesn't give you guys chills, nothing will. You guys have just been desensitized by all this true crime that we consume. I mean, think about it. The BTK is probably the most terrifying type of killer because he didn't care if you were man, woman. He would find a way to just kind of sneak into your house, right? During your day-to-day activities, how often do you just run outside and kind of leave your door half cracked? Right? I just got to get something out of the car. I'm going to run around the corner and grab the mail. Or I'm going to go talk to the neighbor for a second. And you kind of leave the door unlocked. Well, if the BTK was stalking you and he's waiting and he's preying on you and he's watching you do this every day, you come out of your house and you water your garden, he's just going to wait. And then as soon as he sees you walking inside like you do every day, he's going to follow right behind you, shove you inside, tie you up, and then go do the same thing to the rest of your family. You can't prepare for that. You could have a gun on your hip. You could have all the guns in the fucking world, right? You could be a Navy SEAL. And the BTK, if he creeps in and somehow gets his hands on a family member of yours, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to have to do whatever he says. Similar to the Zodiac in some ways. I don't know enough about the Zodiac, right, to do the criminology on that dude. Like, who was that? I don't even know if they've ever caught the man. You can fill a room with 10 people, 5 will say, "Yep, they caught the Zodiac." The other 5 will be like, "Nope." Same thing with the Son of Sam killings. Was that a cult? 5 will say, "Nope." The other 5 will say, "Yep." That's why a 12 jury judgment is not justice. There's no justice about that. There is no such thing as justice, unfortunately. Preventing crime is the only justice. And that's kind of where I try to fit in, trying to present these things, try to expect the unexpected. All right. So far we've talked about Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, right? The friendly clown, Ted Bundy, the charming good guy, Dennis Rader, the church leader. Come on now. There's no way, right? Let's skip Robert Hansen for time. Let's go to Israel Keys, the polite craftsman, calm, soft spoken, ran a construction business, described by acquaintances as respectful, helpful, and unthreatening. He used being the nice handyman to stay invisible. Absolutely. Got Milk, what up? All right, where are we at on this? Okay, well, let's look at Richard Allen as just a normal guy. He might suffer from some mental health issues here and there, but that's not going to make anybody a killer, right? Lots of people struggle. It doesn't make you violent. It definitely doesn't make you a killer, even if you have personality disorders to boot. So, what could possibly have created this bridge guy, right? What recipe? So, we're going to call this one Richard Allen the outlier. And let's get started. Switch this over. Okay. Okay, it is possible, but rare, for someone with no history of planning violence to commit a sudden, impulsive, opportunistic killing. But it is not because of anxiety, depression, or dependent personality disorder. Those conditions do not cause people to become violent. Well, that's what they tried to present in court, right? That's the image we have of Richard Allen. He's this guy who suffers from mental health. He's a ticking time bomb. Well, from what I've gathered, those items should not have made him a violent person. However, there are other psychological, situational, and environmental factors that can combine with emotional instability or poor coping skills to create a perfect storm. Okay, we're going to start with number 1. Mental illness does not cause killing, but distress can lower judgment. Right? So we're picturing Richard Allen as just a normal person. He's not somebody that's fantasizing about committing murder. Maybe he has some childhood trauma and did some stuff when he was confused as a younger person. He's been trying to cope with that, right? As an adult. He keeps that part of himself compartmentalized somewhere in the back of the mind. But it is kind of troubling him. So that could be an ingredient that I don't know. But all these other things seem to compile. So that needs to be said. Mental illness does not cause killing. So let's be clear on that. But distress can lower judgment. Disorders like anxiety, depression, dependent personality disorder are associated with withdrawal, fear, self blame, or clinginess, not aggression. But severe emotional distress can reduce impulse control, impair judgment, increase panic responses, trigger desperate or irrational thinking. This alone doesn't cause murder, but it can make somebody less able to cope with conflict or crisis in a healthy way. A sudden high stress catalyst. Opportunistic or impulsive homicide often happens when a perfect storm hits. Here's some examples of triggers. A relationship fight escalating unexpectedly, fear of humiliation, exposure, or losing somebody they depend on, a confrontation spiraling out of control, panic during a perceived threat, substance use that lowers inhibition. In the moment, the person may think, I just need this to stop, not, I am going to kill. It's not planned, it's reactive, right? What's so scary about true crime, you guys? I think it's the fact that we can't see it coming. It's unexpected. It's like a shark attack being struck by lightning. So maybe that's what happened in the Allen household. You know, we have an outlier. So let's look at dependent personality disorder. It looks like it can create extreme fear and abandonment. People with DPD, fear being alone, panic over losing support, may become irrational when a relationship feels threatened. So, in rare cases, the confrontation involving abandonment, rejection, or exposure can trigger panic, depression, loss of control. This is not premeditation, it's emotional collapse mixed with the volatile situation. So, loss of control, right? Why do most murders happen? The killer is looking to gain control, right? What's the ultimate thing? It's playing God, controlling whether somebody lives or somebody dies. That's the ultimate control, or sexual control, right? You don't get to tell me yes or no. I have control over this situation. It's going to happen if I say it will. Opportunistic means circumstances created the window, not planned, not stalked, not even fantasized. There was a sudden chance. There was no forethought. The act happened during a chaotic moment. For example, fight happens, object nearby, panic, loss of control, immediate regret. What's up, Red Queen? Happy Sunday. Okay, let's see here. Examples from real criminology. An emotionally unstable person under extreme stress. So these are some of the patterns. A confrontation that escalates. No prior plan. Sudden violence triggered by panic or fear. No violent history, no planning, no antisocial traits. The thing about Richard Allen is I think he did have antisocial traits, right? From everything that I gathered from my own investigation, everything that I heard during the trial, everything that was conveyed by Kathy, right? No social media. He didn't want to go. He didn't have any friends, right? He didn't want to go out. So he was just probably there playing pool because he didn't want anybody to try to steal his wife. How do this relate to the Isla Venal case? I don't know. What's up, Scorpio? Good to see you. All right. Most people with DPD or depression never harm anyone. In fact, depressed individuals are far more likely to harm themselves than others. Anxiety disorders reduce risk of harming others. People with DPD tend to cling, not attack. Violence is just not typical. So, what the hell's going on with Rick Allen? Because we know that he's involved, right? They've proven that. The only thing that they haven't proven is whether he's 10% of the puzzle or the whole pie. All right. And this is kind of a layperson summary. How could this happen? A person who has never committed violence might become an opportunistic killer if they are extremely emotionally dependent on someone, Rick. They experience a sudden crisis or confrontation, possibly Rick, right? Everything that we know that's happening. Daughter's out of the house, graduating for her 2-year degree, getting married at the end of 2017. Johnny Walker, his brother-in-law, passed away, causing his wife to pull away from Rick. Right? He's definitely checking all those boxes. No plan existed. It was a catastrophic, unplanned collapse under stress. All right, let me see if I have anything else for that. Yep, part 2. This will be a quick one. Richard Outlier. All right, the dual life hypothesis. A person can appear completely normal externally, loving family, responsible job, respected in the community, while internally struggling with hidden fantasies, sexual, violent, or controlling, anger or resentment they suppress, the feelings of inadequacy, shame, or invisibility. The public mask can be so convincing that no one notices the internal tension until it explodes, right? A real ticking time bomb. All right, number 2, trigger plus vulnerability equals catastrophic breakdown. Even a mild or moderate personality flaw combined with stress can become dangerous if triggered. Job stress, financial pressure, or marital tension, feeling humiliated, rejected, or powerless. Right? What are these killers always trying to gain? Power and control. So why do they need power and control? Because somehow along the way they've perceived that they've lost their control and any power that they might have had. So, right, cause and effect. So if they're killing to gain power and control, that means that they've lost power and control. Something must have happened to cause that. Why are they what are they perceiving as the reason that they're losing their power and their control? What's going on? What's the stressor? What's the issue going on, right? Job stress, financial pressure, marital tension. Why are you feeling humiliated, rejected, or powerless? Why do you need to kill Abby and Libby to get those things back? Like, what could possibly make a person believe that in some sick and demented way? If they have poor impulse control, this can escalate to aggression or sexual violence without prior planning. The role of opportunity. Opportunistic offenses often require victims who are vulnerable or alone, right? Abby and Libby. Isolation from witnesses, guys down the hill. A moment of weakness. Abby's first time crossing and nobody really knowing that they're on the other side of the bridge and down that hill would be a moment of weakness. Where their internal urges overpower the judgment. The killer, the person may rationalize the act in the moment. It's just this once. I can control it, even if it's morally apparent. Fantasy escalation. Even if somebody has never acted violently before, long term fantasy can prime them. Hidden daydreams about control, domination, or sexual activity. Emotional repression that builds tension. Sudden stress can turn fantasy into action. It's rare, but when opportunity aligns with the breakdown, it can trigger extreme behavior. So you guys all get it. We all get it, right? We all get it. It's good to see you, Scorpio. All right, let me see here. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So I had compared the Down the Hill audio with Richard Allen during an interview where he says down the hill. I know others have done it. This isn't the best, but I've had it kind of just sitting around and I never showed it to you guys. So let's go to that right now. And you can give me your opinion. Okay, let me know if you guys can hear this or not. I'm going to share my screen. Add to stage. Okay, let me know if you can hear this. I'm going to put it on loop. Go down and go. 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 Let me know if you guys can hear that. So during Richard Allen's interview with Tony Leggett and Mullins, he's talking about how he knows the McCains and that he helped him with the project, brought some people from Walmart over and helped tear down the shack. And he's talking to Mullins and he's saying, "Hey, you know the hill, you know that bench where I sit that I told you I was sitting at, which is right there, right? You can see the Mears parking lot. You can look left towards the Freedom Bridge. You can look down towards the Monon High Bridge. But not only that, you can look down the hill at the 505 trail, which is where the corn crib on the old McCain property used to sit. So apparently the McCains and Richard Allen, with the help of Walmart employees, tore down the shack, right? Interesting, right? The shack, whatever. So he's explaining to them, that bench that I sat on and where you go down the hill. So I snatched that audio and I took it to, and I compared it to the actual Bridge Guy video. Let me know what you guys think. Go down and go. 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 So what's interesting to me is when I hear it, it kind of sounds like the Rick Allen that's being interviewed might have you've been drinking, kind of slur a little bit, or like I'm talking a little bit slow, instead of the hill that you go down, he's like guys down the hill, right? He's kind of like, it sounds like it is him, it matches, but it's almost like you can hear a drunken slur. I know that's far-fetched, but I'm just telling you that's my opinion. Go down and go. 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 So what do you guys think about that? So we'll talk. I want to get your opinion on that. We might not spend too much time on this. I'm going to go to Stacy Bosnowski, the DNA analyst, and go over my notes that I took after reading her testimony. And then we might go and look at a summary that I ran through AI of some of the volumes for the Delphi transcripts. I think it's like 2 through 6. And then we'll go through the summary that was provided. And I've already read all of that. You cannot trust AI, guys. So don't just grab your documents and throw them through some AI program. some Acrobat PDF, reader or whatever. You can't do that because AI, when it comes to Grok and Chat GPT, they get things wrong almost every time. There's going to be a piece of information that is wrong or inaccurate. So you have to know what you're talking about. They get dates of birth dates wrong, locations wrong. Sometimes the AI might get the killer confused with the victim and vice versa. So you actually have to go through the information. But if you want to save time when it comes to taking notes, so really AI only acts, for me, in my opinion, as a good assistant. Like, these are the things that I'm wanting to do. Help me organize this, right? But as far as getting the information correct, don't ever, 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 at least right now, trust AI. I've just noticed that they get it wrong constantly. So let's go through my notes, and then if we do have time, we'll go through that summary. Good to see you, Amy. Good to see you. And if you guys didn't hear that audio very well, let me know. We can always play it again. Okay. So here's the notes from the testimony from Stacy Bosnowski. She's a DNA analyst. So basically, she's there to kind of figure out whose DNA is at the crime scene, who it belongs to. Is there enough there to actually do anything with it? So she had a tough task, right? So we're talking about a very impressive woman here. Okay, forensic analyst Stacy Bozanowski examined evidence collection kits from victims, Libby German and Abby Williams. The kits included the standard range of swabs and samples: vaginal, cervical, oral, anal, genital swabs, fingernail scrapings, and hair combings. No confirmed seminal material was detected on any items. So I want you guys to pay close attention to that word, confirmed, right? They did have a hit, I believe, on something, but it wasn't a confirmed hit, and we'll talk about that. It was a presumptive positive. What's up, Peggy? Okay, so no confirmed seminal material was detected on any items. Nothing at all, despite what anybody might tell you otherwise. The vaginal cervical swabs from both victims showed a presumptive positive for seminal material, but no confirmatory testing was done. She explained that their lab's procedure at the time skipped confirmatory test to conserve sample for DNA analysis, since confirmatory testing requires consuming more material. Let's welcome in Peggy, Anthony France, and CJK. What's up, guys? Okay, no male DNA was detected on the vaginal cervical swabs from either victim. So that's just a fact. Very small, insufficient amounts of male DNA were found on external genital swabs of both victims. Right? If you're trying to make a point, that right there is going to be ammunition, right? You can go out there and use that recklessly. Right? Oh, external genital swabs on both victims. They found male DNA, very small, insufficient amounts of male DNA. Oh my gosh. Also, they found the same thing on fingernail scrapings of both victims. Very small, insufficient amounts of male DNA. The quantities were too low to create a DNA profile. Bosnowski testified that trace male DNA on fingernails or external genital areas does not indicate a perpetrator. Like, what do you mean? What? You're telling me there's DNA on children's genital areas and in their fingernails, and it does not indicate a perpetrator? That's not possible. That's just not possible. Well, this is what she said. These are frequently contact clothing, surfaces, and other people. She says these areas frequently contact clothing, surfaces, and other people. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean, somebody's taking your clothes out of the dryer? Their hand touches your underwear or your sock or your shirt. Um, you're coming out of the shower, you're getting dressed, you brush up against the laundry basket. I mean, like, what's going on? Like, how is this even possible? Low level transfer DNA is common from everyday activities. So, I mean, there's just DNA all over the place. Shared households and shared laundry can easily cause such transfer. Therefore, the minimal male DNA detected was not meaningful or incriminating. So they're saying it doesn't matter whose DNA it is. Like, it could be Richard Allen, but even if that's it, it wouldn't be meaningful or incriminating. It wouldn't be evidence that there was a sexual assault, that there was a physical attack, nothing like that. But if you're pro Richard Allen, right, somehow you're going to spin that and you're going to use that as some like a cover up or something along those lines. But the truth is, the DNA of everybody in my household and the people here who are been in and out of my house over the last 2 weeks, fixing the plumbing issue and doing the demolition and all that shit, I'm assuming their DNA is all over the place now as well. And I'm also assuming that all of our DNA from my household might even be on them in some way. Fishy says, well, if it was Richard Allen's, it actually would be meaningful because they would have no reason to have come into contact with him. Well, that's true. But the thing is that it wouldn't be evidence that he did anything wrong, right? The amount is so small that it's almost like if it is him, he just brushed up against them, or it's not proof that he did anything wrong, right? It would be meaningful, like, hey, we found Richard Allen's DNA on him. But for that to say, hey, we found Richard Allen's DNA, and then they didn't have a bullet, they didn't have anything. I mean, never know. They're at the same place, right? Maybe they sat on the same bench or something. That sounds like the type of DNA that they're referring to, like something just not meaningful or incriminating. So, final points: no usable DNA profiles were developed from either kit. The analyst confirmed identification of the physical evidence packages by her markings and initials, and that's it. So nobody can spin that. They can try, but the truth is, the fact that there was no DNA is actually consistent, right, with somebody who's commanding two teenagers from gunpoint and demanding that they take their clothes off, right? He hasn't come in contact with them. He's just pointing a gun at them and he's saying, take off your clothes. They're complying and he's getting ready to leave all this DNA, right? He's like, I'm going full board. Like, there's no turning back. I'm a hopeless individual. I tried to take my own life. I'm too much of a coward. I have nothing to lose. I have absolutely nothing to lose. I'm going to go berserk. I'm going to get my power and control back, and I'm going to target these two girls right here who are crossing my bridge. They're on my turf. And I know all too well that I can take them down that hill and do what I want. But, right, the crime scene and everything aligns with this idea that while he's attempting to commit the sexual assault, Brad Weber comes driving up. There's no DNA to be had. The girls pick up their clothes and they book it. Run, right? Run. Run, Abby. Grab your clothes and run. And here's Rick, probably with his pants down, because something bought these girls some time. They had a little bit of time to cross the creek, kind of run off to the side, and then find an area where they can just kind of climb up and make it to where they ended up being killed. I believe Richard, while he's demanding that they get undressed, I believe he did the same thing. I think he felt comfortable down there. And whatever created that comfort kind of causes me some distress, knowing about what he said about crossing that bridge, going on to this, just him and his daughter. There's something that triggered him about Libby. There's something that made him feel confident to go down there and that nothing would happen, right? Nobody's coming this time of year on the private drive. And I've been down here before doing something similar to this. But when that van came and startled them, right, there's no DNA. I had him at gunpoint, undress, no reason for me to have any DNA over there. Right? Richard's like, nope, no DNA for me. Not yet anyway, right? And then boom, he's scared by the van, puts on his pants, chases the girls because he knows they're going to go tell. Now he's pissed. He's cold. He's wet. And he's scared. And he definitely doesn't have control. Right? It's a nightmare. Came there to gain control and lost it right away. Well, the only way to get that back, right? I'm going to make the decision whether or not you live or die. My decision is that you die because I don't want to face any of these consequences. Fishy says, but like if it was their dad's or something, it probably wouldn't be as meaningful because he could have taken their clothes out of the laundry. Yeah, but I mean, who else could it be? Could it be like some kind of transfer? Could it be kids from school? I really don't know. But if it's so meaningless, it's like they can't even tell if it belongs to the father or not, or a brother, roommate, uncle, friend. It was just such a small amount of DNA. It's like it didn't even really matter. Some people are going to be, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Well, I mean, you're covered in DNA right now. Does any of it matter? No, but if you have seminal fluid on you, yeah, it matters. What the hell are you doing near semen? If you have something like that, yeah, right. If you have blood on you from some guy, if you have your dad's blood, a spot of blood, why do you have blood on you? Yeah, there's difference. There's a difference. All right, what else we got here? Let's see. Okay, let's pull up that summary. We'll take a look at that. And if it sparks anything for you guys, just drop your comment in the chat. I'm just going to read through it. Okay, unified summary of volumes 2 through 6, State of Indiana versus Richard M. Allen. This consolidated summary covers the major themes, testimony, disputes, and rulings across volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So I did this because I thought it would be a good way to spark a conversation. There's a lot of stuff in here that we kind of forget about or we lose track of. And if you guys haven't participated in the poll, do it now. We're going to close it down shortly. Question is, Richard Allen. Outlier, yes, but 100% guilty. Okay, we kind of took a look at that. This is the one I believe is 10% of the puzzle, and also being protected, but by who? Right? By those who are presenting themselves as an angel of light, but have evil intentions, using Richard Allen and quarantining what he might mean for the totality of it all. Or he's innocent and he's being set up systematically. All right, Volume 2, Early Motions, Evidence Framework, Logistics. Volume 2 primarily establishes the foundation of the case. A jury, trial, and evidentiary planning. Judge, goal, and attorneys discuss timelines, questionnaires, and logistical planning for an extremely high-profile trial. Both sides outline major pretrial motions, motions to suppress, motions to dismiss, admissibility challenges, safekeeping orders, and discovery disputes. Discovery arguments begin. Defense raises early concerns about missing recordings, incomplete digital evidence, and deorganization in the state's evidence archive. State responds that everything in their possession has been turned over. Number 3, defense begins building an argument for police investigative failures. Though not formally presented yet, Volume 2 reveals the emerging defense themes. Early suspects, Klein, Holder, Westfall, were allegedly not fully investigated, and I agree. Defense hints at claims of lost or destroyed evidence. Volume 3 focuses on discovery issues, early suspect handlings, and digital evidence. Volume 3 deepens discovery fights and early investigation criticisms. Defense stresses loss of unretrieved items. This includes missing interviews, unusable DVRs, unclear chain of custody issues. The majority of this material never existed or was lost for reasons unrelated to misconduct or was documented and communicated at the time. See, I feel like anything that Jerry Holman touched could be corrupted. I feel like I don't know what that dude is up to, especially when it comes to the lost tip and what happened to the Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall interviews. And why it appears he tried to act dumb about it. You know what I mean? Like if you're leading this investigation, you should have watched those interviews. You should have copied those interviews. You should have had your own copies that you watched constantly, right? Trying to figure out if there's anything there of value. But instead, it's like, here's the DVRs. Everything should be in there. Oh my God, it's recorded over? I had no clue. Well, yeah, you recorded over it right away, like a few days later, a few weeks later. So why didn't you know that? Like you should have been the one to discover that it was recorded over. It shouldn't have been something that was discovered by the defense team, in my opinion. Devil's Reject, I think. I always felt like there was more to this case. Glad to see you guys pushing further. What do you think, Devils? Like, what's your opinion? Okay. So defense stresses lost or unretrieved items. This includes missing interviews, unusable DVRs, unclear chain of custody issues. The state counters that with the majority of this material never existed. Like what? Or was lost for reasons unrelated to misconduct. Whoops, my bad. Okay, like it's one thing to accidentally record over the interviews. It's another thing to not immediately go and re-interview these people or to, I don't know, try to fix the problem. Shouldn't have been discovered by Richard Allen's defense team. Or was documented and communicated at the time. Early suspects in the Delphi case were Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Keegan Klein, Elvis Fields, and a man by the name of Josh Chrisman. Appear as early investigative subjects. Defense argues police failed to properly explore these leads. State argues investigators followed up and ruled them out appropriately. Devil's Reject. I think that Keegan and his dad has a lot more to do with this case, to be honest. I agree with you. So do I. I think there's others involved as well. There's somebody there that holds some kind of weight with the local law enforcement all the way to the state level. Somebody important. Or a group of people that are important and have a mutual motivating factor. All right. Number 3, early interviews and digital content. Volume 3 contains discussions of FBI and ISP interviews, digital forensic processing, tip line review practices. The state's insistent that nothing exculpatory was destroyed. Moving on to Volume 4, motion to dismiss for destroyed evidence and rebuttal evidence. Volume 4 centers on an aggressive defense attempt to dismiss the case. Judge Gold repeatedly rejects the defense's argument. Defense argues police destroyed exculpatory evidence in 2017, which is kind of true, right? Like I can't prove that these guys were involved because you deleted the video, right? Don't know what's in those videos. So makes you wonder. You must prove the evidence was exculpatory that it was destroyed, right? So it's almost like its own criminal case hidden inside of another case, right? Law enforcement potentially hiding exculpatory evidence. How can you prove that they maliciously did that with bad intent? You can't. That's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of destroying it. You can't use it and you can't prove that I destroyed it on purpose. It was an accident, I promise. I hit the wrong thingy. They say evidence, prosecution says evidence created in 2018 and 2023 cannot prove what police knew in 2017. Yeah, but don't you find things out throughout your investigation? Defense witnesses were improperly selected because they were interviewed years later. The defense insists on calling a 2018 witness for a 2017 claim, the judge says. We are done here. So it looks like they got into a little circular conversation and got outlawyered. You know, you might be 100% wrong, but if somebody else can present their case better than you, right? Who determines whether you're right or wrong? It's the audience, right? Your truth is always going to be your truth. But if you're trying to convey your truth to others, it really depends on how they're perceiving your truth. Do they believe you? Maybe they think you're lying. So the truth only really exists in the eye of an audience, in my opinion. Let's see. Let's move on to number 2, the Amber Holder offer of proof. Defense is allowed to state what Amber Holder would say, but not call her. Brad Holder allegedly claimed involvement in occult rituals, claimed Westfall committed the crimes, allegedly showed photos of girls posed like runes. Excuse me. Allegedly had more knowledge about Abby than originally gave on, which is true. Like, why would he lie about that? Judge rules that this has no relevance to whether police destroyed evidence in 2017. I disagree. State's rebuttal destroys the defense's claim. Investigator Stephen Mullen testifies the 2017 FBI interview of Brad Holder was preserved. It was provided to the defense in discovery multiple times. So they're denying that it was even destroyed. It was provided to the defense in discovery multiple times. The defense's claims of destruction are factually incorrect. Judge clearly sides with the state. No dismissal. No destruction proven. Well, it's like two things can be true at the same time, right? Like, yes, they provided a copy to the FBI, but then they also tried to destroy, the evidence that they're legally required. I don't know if, let's say you kick the FBI off, I don't know if they can be subpoenaed, right? I don't know how that works. Can you demand evidence from them? Or is it just whatever ISP has? Or Carroll County or Delphi? So I think what the defense was trying to say was, yeah, the FBI might have their copy. Why did these guys over here try to, get rid of it? Why are they trying to conceal Holder and Westfall? What's up, Amorican? Where has TK run off to? Well, he ran off to Treasure Island, got hit by a hurricane, and I think moved back in with his mama in Peru. Devil's Reject. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the murder sheet say that Keegan blew open a whole new door with this case? Doctors, state leaders, and judges, then it's all disappeared. Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Right? You can follow these so-called tentacles that Doug Carter liked to talk about, but what happens when a very powerful person in your community is at the end of that tentacle? Right? Like the McCains or somebody like that, who kind of holds your future in the palm of their hands. Whether you become a state prosecutor, whether you become a judge, whether you acquire land, whether you start your dream business in the dream location, you can't do anything without jumping through hoops that these guys are holding. So what happens when your future depends on that one decision, right? Do I expose this wickedness, or do I become wicked myself to achieve the goals that I have in place? Some people choose the latter, unfortunately. All right. Number 5, safekeeping conditions, mental health, and Allen's alleged confessions. Volume 5 shifts from evidence destruction to questions. Were Allen's statements voluntary or coerced by the conditions of Westville? Warden Gallipo's testimony. The warden describes Allen was housed in a restricted unit to protect him as a high-profile detainee. He received unusual privileges, unshackled during visits, hugging his wife, original legal mail later restricted, limited number of suicide companions to reduce leaks. Allen sometimes refused orders requiring force, taser during cuffport incident, for example. All right, number 2, Allen's confessions. The warden states Allen sometimes spontaneously said, "I killed those girls," often provided no details. Statements peaked between April through July of 2023. Allen later contradicted these same statements by declaring his innocence. Number 3, suicide companions. Testimony shows inmates assigned to watch Allen violated rules, engaged him in conversations, and shared details. Defense argues this contaminated or influenced Allen's mental state. Some companions called family members about him. Number 4, Dr. Monica Wallace's testimony. Dr. Walla treated Allen for mental health issues, admits that she followed the case before treating Allen, like podcasts, visiting the bridge, etc., acknowledges his mental deterioration, confirms he made inconsistent statements, expressed frustration, had fluctuating mental stability. The state argued her treatment records show Allen's statements were voluntary admissions to homicide. The defense argues conditions plus mental decline made statements unreliable and coerced. All right. Volume 6, cross-examination, prior suspects, Klein material, and pretrial friction. Now, who's this? Mr. Propheos. The facts are that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, and he offered no alibi or anything on other suspects to maybe get a lesser sentence. KK also offered nothing on Richard Allen or anybody else to get a lesser sentence. It's true. I know Kagan talked about being offered a plea deal, and somehow that was never really presented to him to where he could take advantage of it. And then we learned later that Richard Allen was also offered a plea deal, but refused. Because if you make a deal, you have to give up information. They don't just give you a deal and say, "Oh, well, there you go. There's the deal." No, it's a quid pro quo. Squid pro row. All right. Defense revisits early suspects. Testimony from Todd Click and others describes investigative work on people connected to Holder, Westfall, Guzman, and Fields, Elvis Fields. Findings do not link them to the murders despite social connections. Defense attempts to stress others had opportunity. None of these leads produce credible evidence. Kagan Klein testimony connection. Trooper Vito confirms Klein cooperated with investigators starting mid-2022. This was months before Allen's arrest. Defense implies Klein may be more involved. State frames it as unrelated or debunked. Right? You got to put your money where your mouth is. If you can't prove it, it's useless during a trial. Right? How are you going to convince a jury if you can't convince anybody else, including yourself? Allen's statements revisited. Defense highlights many alleged confessions were vague. I killed those girls. Lacked specifics, often made during mental health crises, later contradicted by Allen himself. The state responds, the number, consistency, and timing still show consciousness of guilt. Number 4, safekeeping transfer dispute. Rosie argues Allen being moved 200 plus miles away impedes his Sixth Amendment rights. Absolutely. There needs to be more laws in place. Anything that kind of affects your ability to run a proper case should not be allowed. Right? The burden shouldn't be on you as the accused ever. Want safekeeping order modified so Allen can be held closer to the defense team, which he should, or accommodate. State says they don't care where he's held, but see no legal reason to change. Safety and logistics remain priorities. Right? Allen is more of a threat to himself than anybody. The number one person that probably wants to hurt Richard Allen is himself. If they put him in a county jail, it's going to be more likely that he succeeds. All right, judge closes with concerns. Judge Gull states she will hold a sealed hearing because Allen told Dr. Walla he wants to plead guilty. Ethical obligations require verifying whether he truly wished to do so. So once again, this could have been over a long time ago, right? But every great conspiracy, they're all in on it. They're in on it to not only to exploit the taxpayer dollar, but to achieve a common goal. Okay, so overall themes across volumes 2 through 6. Defense strategy. Same police misconduct. Judge rejects this. Argue Allen's conditions. False states. All suspects seek improved access to Allen. The state strategy. Demonstrate no evidence was destroyed. Argue Allen made spontaneous voluntary admittance. Show defense theories are speculative and unsupported. Maintain Allen's custody arrangements because they protect him. The judge's position. Consistently skeptical of defense destruction claims. Demands evidence tied to correct timeline. Concerned about Allen's mental state and rights. Strict on procedural rules. And that's it for that part. Let's see what else we got. All right. So let's just move over to grooming. Online grooming. And some things for parent, some education, if you will. Okay, so let's stop this camera. All right, guys, I'm going to close down the poll. Richard Allen, outlier, yes, but 100% guilty. Is 10% of the puzzle. Being protected, but by who? Being set up systematically. Vote now. You got 5 seconds. Okay, let me pull this up here. All right. There we have it for the poll. 58% of you say Richard Allen might be an outlier statistically, but 100% he's guilty. 23% of you say he's being set up systematically. That's a lot of you out there. Is 10% of the puzzle, and that's pretty much where I stand. 10% of the truth is not truth, and it's definitely not justice. 6% of you say being protected, but by who? All right. See, this is courtesy of San Jose Police Department, Silicon Valley Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, dedicated to making the internet a safer place. Apps parents should know, right? These are things that the average parent will never ever think. This is the one I feel is the most dangerous. And apparently, I looked online, it's the most frequently used. It basically looks like a calculator, but you can keep a secret photo album. Hides internet browser history and photos, can be locked with a password, PIN pattern, and facial recognition. Decoy feature shows innocuous photos while hiding private photos. How scary is that? So even if you're checking, you're finding the decoy feature. And that's even if you find this app. So parents, you can't just take a quick look. You have predators like Keegan Klein who are acting like 13-year-old girls, creating profiles. And even if you hear your child talking on the phone and you're like, oh, it's nothing, I hear another child's voice, that could literally be the predator. This predator is getting off on hiding right under your nose. And how do they hide right under your nose? Well, first, they present themselves as an angel of light, right? The whole catfish. I'm just an innocent child. I'm your friend. I'm a beautiful, lovely little kid just like you, right? No, nothing to worry about. I'm going to spend the next month becoming your best friend. Oh, what's your name? Emily Ann, 45 is my name. Oh, hi, Emily Ann. That's a beautiful name. Yes, right? After 3 weeks of grooming and manipulating, becoming best friends, this person says, um, if your parents find out about me, they're going to separate us. They're going to tell you never to talk to me again, right? If you ever want to have a relationship with my good looking older brother who's still a teenager, you want to prevent that from happening. So let me teach you something that can hide our conversations. Download this secret photo album, and all of our inappropriate behavior can be concealed. That way, even if mom, dad start to suspect something and they become suspicious and they start looking and curious, they may overlook this. It looks like the calculator that we all have, but yet this is what groomers do. They hide in plain sight, and they always present themselves as somebody that's trying to help, right? The neighbor, the uncle, the catfish, online catfish. But when they're alone with your child, they're giving them burner phones and they're teaching them how to use secret apps. So be careful, you guys. 11 popular vault apps is what they're referred to as. Lock photos, photo secret vault, gallery lock, archive photos on Android. This is a built-in option on the Android to view archived photos. Tap the hamburger menu, 3 horizontal lines, and select archives. So they're kind of teaching you how to access it. PicSafe, private photo vault, hides photos and videos, password, pattern, or pin lock, decoy password, option to fool others, right? Look at that shit. So the parents demanding that you put in your password. Put in your password right now, little kid, little girl, little boy, or I'm destroying this phone. I'm taking your phone forever. Fine. Here's the password, right? Dumbass 55, right? Dumbass 55 is the password. They go looking through it, and it's a bunch of silly photos of the kids and his friends, right? At school. Maybe flipping the bird or something. See, that's why I was hiding the photos, mom. So everything that they're doing was taught to them by the groomer, by the person who's teaching them how to hide in plain sight, right? I'm going to groom you because the goal is eventually to get them away from the herd. Separate them from the herd so that the predator can kill and attack. Unfortunately, that is the name and that is their goal. All right, guys, this will be our 5-minute warning. If you have anything to add on today's live stream, do it now. If you're part of that replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Drop a comment and we'll get back to you. I want to give a big shout out to the replay crew. It's okay that you missed the live stream. It's no biggie. Just hang out and let me know what you thought about the information presented. If you can, hit the Cash App. We definitely need it. 'Tis the season. Don't feel pressured. If you hit the like button, share the video, possibly consider becoming a member. That'd be great. That'd be great as well. And if you need to reach me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Or like I said, just leave a comment on the video and we'll start a conversation there. Go check out my latest video, The Murder of Benjamin Anderson. I put a lot of work into that. Very interesting case here in Phoenix that kind of rattled this entire community. Go take a look. They just made 2 arrests actually. But go learn a little bit more about that case by clicking on that video. Big shout out to CJK, Mr. Prof Chaos, Devil's Rejects, Amorican, Fishy, Anthony France, Peggy O, Amy Lee, Grunge, Scorpio, The Red Queen, Brittany, good to see you, Lilith, The Silver Leaf, True Crime Fangirl, Jari, Christine, my guy Don Spain, Harvey, YouTube Bad Actors, and another thank you to Paul Ayers for sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you for the super chat. She Warrior and Robin and Sherry Faye. Good to see all of you. And if I missed you, no big deal. Like I said, drop a comment. We'll get back to you. Always good to see you, Amy. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. Remember, when you're snooping on your kids, to just look a little bit deeper. These predators are going to have a leg up on you when it comes to technology, when it comes to grooming, things that you would never even expect. They've already been through the whole trial and error process of trying to victimize kids throughout the United States. So when they reach your kid, they may be at pro level status. You don't want a pro catfisher like Keegan Klein sending an Emily Ann after your kid to dupe them and to somehow lure them into some kind of Delphi murder situation. So this live stream is definitely in memory of Abby and Libby. Rest in peace. And you guys stay curious, continue to dig, and we're going to find that truth that's been hiding in plain sight.